My name is Richard Lane. I'm 64 years old, a father of two, a grandfather of three, and the owner of a small but successful logistics company I built from scratch. And after working nearly my entire life to make sure my family had memories, stability, and comfort I never had growing up, I never imagined that one day I'd walk into my own vacation home, the one I renovated with my own hands, the one I stocked with everything my family loved, the one I dreamed of as our peaceful getaway, only to find my entire family celebrating together without me, laughing, drinking, grilling, dancing, and smiling on a warm Saturday afternoon while I stood there on the front porch, completely invisible to the people I had spent my entire life taking care of. It happened on a weekend when I finished a business meeting early and decided, for the first time in a long time, to do something spontaneous. Surprise my family during their yearly summer retreat at our lake house in Michigan. I stopped on the way to buy everyone's favorites, my daughter Emily's almond cookies, my son Jason's preferred craft beer, my grandkids' favorite ice cream, and even a new fishing rod for little Noah because he once told me he wanted to catch a big fish like Grandpa. And as I approached the long gravel driveway leading to the lake house, hearing music echoing through the trees, I felt something warm bloom in my chest because I imagined the look on their faces when they saw me earlier than expected. Imagined hugs, smiles, my grandkids running toward me like they always did when they were younger. But as I reached the porch, the sliding door was wide open, and inside I saw them all, my family, my blood crowded around the dining table, playing games, joking, taking photos, plates stacked with barbecue ribs, glasses filled with lemonade and wine. But what hit me hardest wasn't their laughter. It was the giant banner hanging across the living room. Family weekend, just us. And right under it, Emily's voice rang out clearly. This is perfect without Dad hovering. And I froze so hard the grocery bag I was holding slipped from my hand. Glass bottles clinking as they hit the wooden porch. No one noticed, not even when the ice cream rolled out. I stood rooted in place while Jason laughed and said, "Yeah. He'd just slow everything down anyway. And my grandkids, the kids I tucked into bed, the kids I taught to ride bikes, the kids I took fishing and read stories to, were sitting at the table singing along to a song I introduced them to. But not one of them asked where I might be, not one wondered why I wasn't invited." My chest tightened in a way no physical labor had ever made me feel, like someone had reached inside and squeezed the life out of me. Still, I walked in, quietly, slowly, like a stranger stepping into someone else's home, and the moment Emily saw me, her smile collapsed, her wine glass pausing in midair as she whispered, "Dad, you're early." But the tone wasn't surprise, it was guilt, discomfort, annoyance, like I had ruined a party that wasn't meant for me. Jason scratched his neck awkwardly and said, "We thought you were busy, Dad. You always say you've got things going on," and I stared at him, remembering every night I stayed awake building this life so he wouldn't have to worry about anything. Every time I helped him with bills, every time I drove hours to babysit so he could go on vacations with his wife. I looked around at the decorations, the half-eaten cake labeled family-only celebration, the group photos on the counter photos they had taken that very morning, photos where I wasn't there because they never planned for me to be there, and something inside me cracked. Still holding the melted ice cream and the cookies, I forced a smile and said, "I just wanted to surprise you," and Emily replied, "Dad? We just wanted a weekend to ourselves," and my heart didn't break, it shattered. Because themselves meant everyone except me, everyone who lived in a house I bought, ate food I paid for, vacationed in a place I maintained, a place I poured my sweat into. But instead of yelling or crying, I simply nodded, set the grocery bags on the counter, and said, "I'll get out of your way," and the room fell silent. The kids watching me like I was some distant relative instead of the man who raised their parents. I walked out slowly, listening to the tension behind me, hearing Jason whisper, "We should have told him," and Emily saying, "He'll be fine, he always is," and that's when something shifted inside me. A quiet clarity. I was not a priority in their lives, I was a convenience. I sat on the porch, staring at the lake I loved so much, thinking of how many summers I spent teaching Emily how to swim, teaching Jason how to skip stones, remembering the nights my wife, God rest her soul, sat next to me while we dreamed of this place being our family's forever sanctuary, and tears stung my eyes because she would have never allowed this to happen. She would have made sure no one ever made me feel like a burden. After sitting there for 40 minutes, hearing my family's laughter echo behind me like reminders of my absence in their hearts, I stood up, walked back in, and quietly gathered my things, not the groceries, not the gifts, just my car keys and dignity. And as I was about to leave, Noah ran up to me, the only one who noticed, holding the fishing rod and saying, "Grandpa, are you leaving already?" And that tiny voice broke me more than anything else. I knelt down, hugged him, and said, "You have fun, buddy," then walked out, telling myself I needed to protect my heart from the people I loved most. When I drove away, no one followed, no one called, no one texted, not for hours. It wasn't until late evening that I finally got messages from Emily, apologizing, trying to explain, but they were weak excuses about needing space and creating new traditions, and feeling like I'm always working, none of which matched the truth. They wanted a family gathering without the man who built the family. I didn't reply, not immediately. Instead, I drove home, packed a small suitcase, and went back to the lake house the next morning while they were still asleep because I owned it. Not them, sat at the dining table, left a note, and placed it where everyone would see it. It wasn't angry, it wasn't dramatic, it simply said, "If you ever want me to be part of your family again, treat me like I am one." I left the deed to the vacation home locked away where only I had access, canceled the automatic monthly funds I gave them, and took back the silence they had tried so hard to push me into. And when they all woke up and found the note, the house suddenly didn't feel like a celebration anymore because they realized the man they had taken for granted wasn't someone they could replace. Sometimes families forget who held everything together, and sometimes it takes leaving the room for them to finally feel the emptiness they created.